Well, we're going to start with a little audio. That sound isn't the sound of a motorcycle starting up or the sound of my husband's stomach after a strong curry. No, it is the sound a crocodile makes. I just thought you'd be interested. We should get used to that sound, really, because we're going to be hearing quite a lot of it over the next few weeks, I suspect. And I wish I could play you a video now, but I will just have to read out what the people are saying because I'm worried about copyright. However, that might be useful in itself because it means I can stop and discuss what they're saying. This is a screenshot from a Sky News report called Sophie Ridge on Sunday, as you will see from the legend underneath it. And she is interviewing the Shadow Home Secretary. Now, this chap is called Nick Thomas Simmons, MP, and he was brought in by Keir Starmer to replace Diane Abbott, who was Jeremy Corbyn's Shadow Home Secretary. Well, I have to say, he's marginally better than Diane Abbott, but oh dear. Well, actually, maybe I'm doing him a disservice. He is quite masterly in saying lots at length and absolutely nothing in substance. Right, so let's get on with this. Sophie Ridge asked Nick Thomas Simmons the following question. She was asking about the protests. That we've seen this week outside at Batley Grammar School. This is after a teacher showed an offensive cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad. Now, that's interesting in itself, isn't it? Because she's already framing the picture. It's an offensive cartoon and it's of the Prophet Muhammad. Instead of her saying, as she should be saying, showing a cartoon which some Muslims find offensive. And it's of Muhammad, the prophet, the founding prophet of Islam. And that's the way she should be saying it. But no, what she said was, a teacher showed an offensive cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad, which of course demands a certain response. And that's the response she wants. However, she is not the one who is feeding the crocodile at the moment. At least she is feeding the crocodile. But it's the guy getting the award is Nick Thomas Simmons because he did the crocodile feeding with remarkable aplomb. And you've got to give him all credit where credit is due. Okay, she continues. The schools apologised, suspended the teacher who's now under police protection. Oh, she said that with such a soft, velvety voice, no sign of outrage or disturbance. And then she finishes with, should teachers be allowed to show cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad? No, she didn't say, should people be allowed to threaten teachers? She didn't say, should groups of people during lockdown be allowed to assemble outside a school gate? She didn't say, most of the people in that demonstration appeared not to be parents, but activists from different towns. She didn't say any of that stuff. What she said was, should teachers be allowed to show cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad? So, and I might say, this is something I didn't know when I made my last video about Batley School. It was part of the curriculum. Other teachers have already given the courses which require the showing of those cartoons. So it's been going on for a while. There is absolutely no reason why this should have blown up now, except some activist got hold of it. However, she didn't say any of that. What she said was, It's an offensive cartoon, and should teachers be allowed to show such cartoons? That's what she said. So she's asking Nick Thomas Symonds, MP, to give a specific answer, because if he starts saying, no, I don't think it was an offensive cartoon, well, he can't say that. He can't say, look, you may call him the Prophet Muhammad, he's not my prophet. He can't say any of that stuff. So he's already in this position where he has to be very careful about how he responds to her question. And that's in itself a bit suspicious. I mean, I don't think that Sophie Ridge has written that. I think that was written for her by a newsroom, and she was reading off an auto cue, pushing this particular angle onto this story, don't we? All right, so this is how Nick Thomas Symonds responds. And I have to say, it is masterly. Okay, well, look, in this particular case, we need to lower tensions. Well, yeah, how you would lower them is absolutely beyond anybody's ability, because the only way you could lower the tensions is to arrest the people who are threatening this teacher's life, to arrest the demonstrators, and to be very, very harsh with them so they're all frightened. But you can't do that. Well, gosh, it's not British. Okay, let's carry on. Well, look, in this particular case, we need to lower tensions. Okay, well, that's the first statement of the bleeding obvious, yeah? Firstly, the school has actually taken action. So, you know, I want you to notice he's using some key words. I think he's been given these words and he's supposed to say them. And this is giving the impression he's saying things and giving the impression he cares. And you notice he repeats these keywords again and again. I don't know whether that's coming from him or some sort of script that the Labour Party have. But he's definitely repeating. Well, you'll see. Okay, I'll draw this to your attention. The school has actually taken action. So it means they've acted, they've done something. They haven't done anything. What they've done is they've caved. But he regards this as taking action, or rather, he's saying it in that way. As you've mentioned in relation to this, which I think was the right thing to do. Well, they have to protect their teachers, so how can you disagree with that? But what we've now got to do moving forward, I hate that moving forward. It's totally pointless words. It gives him a little extra time to think, of course. What do you mean, moving forward? What we've got to do is, you know, the moving forward, well, anyway, what we've now got to do moving forward is absolutely to be putting children learners first. Now, children learners, that doesn't mean anything. Children, yes. Learners, yes. You don't need to say children learners, but those are two words that sort of click into your brain. So this is what I'm talking about. He's got some script words which he just spews out. And, you know, I think if you were going to ask him about the weather, he'd say the same stuff. Frankly, lowering those tensions now, again, that, you know, lower the tension, you can't argue with that. You know, getting at what he's saying is like holding water in your hand. It's just, you can't see it and it just drips through and there's nothing there. Lowering these tensions now and actually moving forward, there's the moving forward again. I think that is what is absolutely essential now. So you've got the absolutely essential, which makes it sound like you're being decisive when you haven't said anything. Because to continue to raise tensions, again, this raising, in what way is the school raising tensions? None at all. It's the demonstrators who are raising tensions. To continue to raise tensions in this situation certainly isn't going to assist anybody. No, at least he runs out a bit there, then he collects himself. At least the least alone, those people who absolutely, we've got this absolutely again, should be coming first, who are those who are learning at that school in Batley, which, the kids should come first. That's all he said so far. Right. And then, as Sophie Ridge says, but you think that suspending the teacher was the right thing to do? So that question is framed in such a way that it appears she's asking whether he wants them to rethink this, but it's pushing the narrative into the area of suspending the teacher, instead of saying, do you think it's appropriate for this mob of religious fanatics to be making noise outside a school, threatening the life of a teacher and disrupting children's education? She's not saying that. She's just concentrating on suspending the teacher. And then Nick Thomas Simmons says, look, he said look at the beginning as well. It gives him a little time to think again. I think the school has acted. Well, he said that already. That has now obviously taken place. Oh, yes, sorry. I think the school has acted. That has now obviously taken place. Again, meaningless, completely meaningless words. That bread you used to get, you can still get it. You get these huge loaves of bread and they're like sort of blown up white fluff, and they're in slices, and they're only good if you toast them, because if you get the bread itself and you spread butter on it, each slice starts to collapse, and when you take a bite of it, the bread just sort of disappears, and there's this like sort of flat, slimy piece sticking to the roof of your mouth. Well, that is the way his argument is. Okay. I think the school has acted. That has now obviously taken place. Okay. That action has happened. He's repeating himself, but again, a little time to think. What now needs to happen, as I say, is we need to lower the tension, and we need now to actually move on. So here we've got the message again: lower the tension, moving on, moving forward. Meaning nothing, because you can't move forward when you have a crowd, a rabble of furious, foaming-mouthed, swivel-eyed religious fanatics blocking your route. Yes. Hang on, I've lost the place now. That action has happened. That action has happened. What now needs to happen, as I say, is we need to lower the tension, and we need now to actually move on, putting the children first. Again, here we go with the trigger words. We can't have either any situations, where teachers or others are somehow intimidated. So he's finally got to saying you can't intimidate teachers trying to go about their work. That is something that is not acceptable. That not acceptable or unacceptable is a fashionable word now. No, it's not acceptable. It's criminal. It's like saying it's not acceptable to beat up old ladies for their pension money. No, it's criminal. It's violent. It's not only not acceptable, it's against the law. What we have to do, again, this is a big man making decisions, is to move on now, move on again, and ensure that the children have that learning. You see, you've got the juxtaposition of children and learning, the trigger words. So people afterwards they think, now what did he say? Children, learning, move on, not acceptable. Well, he was obviously thinking the right thoughts, wasn't he? What we have to do is move on now and ensure that the children have that learning, particularly at the moment when you consider all the disruption there's been to young people's education. And this is what he should have been saying at the beginning. Over the past 12 months, that absolutely has to come first. Putting the children, no, that has to come first. Putting the children first. Let's see. There's more firsts here. Absolutely essential, of course. Absolutely. I don't know. Let's see how many times they use the word absolutely here. Oh, well, this will take too much time, but you get the picture. All right, so this is a man. What he said is the children's education shouldn't be disrupted. And what he didn't say was those guys are stopping their education from proceeding and they should be arrested. This is not the behaviour. This is not legal behaviour. These people are bad. These people are doing this for political advantage of some sort. These people are just flexing their muscles. They're exercising power. What he's not saying is these people, if they don't like what this school curriculum is like, they are very welcome to go and start their own school. I want to point something out. The people who are demonstrating are taking advantage of the education system. They are not paying for it, as are none of the other parents. And yet they want to insist on this educational system doing things the way they want. They want their view of the world to be there in the educational system. Now, that's wrong. And that's what this man should be saying. Nick Thomas Symonds, MP. He is the Shadow Home Secretary. But as I've said before, the Labour Party depends very heavily on the Muslim vote. And so they don't want to say anything that will upset that apple cart. But what they are doing is they are appeasing. There are many Muslims who just want to get an education. They want their children to get an education, rather. They don't really care about this stuff. But what is happening is they are being intimidated, at least into silence, if not to active participation in what's going on here. And people like Nick Thomas Symonds is appeasing the more extreme elements in the Muslim population, which at that part of the world is a Pakistani heritage sort of culture. And he is feeding that crocodile. And it is not only to the disadvantage of the children in Batley Grammar School, it is to the disadvantage of all the Muslims who don't want this sort of thing going on. All the Muslims who just want to live their lives, keep their heads down, run their businesses and get their kids to have an education. So he is doing an immense amount of damage because that crocodile might not be eating him right now. What it's doing is it's eating the Muslim kids in the school who are the children of less extreme parents. It's a really bad situation. So, Nick Thomas Symonds, I am giving you the Crocodile Feeder of the Week award. Enjoy. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.graniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.